Hey all, welcome back to GSC. Today I want to talk about header wrap versus exhaust coatings versus high temp paints, things like that. This is a preemptive video because Jet Hot Coat reached out and I appreciate their time and consideration for all of this. It has been quite the honor. They're interested to see what I think of the Hot Jet ceramic style coating versus header wrap. Well, I'm going to flip the camera around and I'm going to show kind of where the header wrap would be. A lot of you guys remember that I header wrapped the exhaust manifolds, crossover, and downpipe on Nightmare. That truck is long gone. It's down the road. Life happened. So I'll show you what's wrapped on Casper. I had the old downpipe and the old crossover on this wrapped. The old crossover has since rotted out because header wrap holds moisture. Not only that, it holds oil too. So it becomes flammable over time. So I'm going to flip this around. You guys can at least see my downpipe, and you can see the nice, shiny, completely unwrapped crossover on this, and we'll get a little more in detail. So I'll flip this around and we'll talk about it. All right, Casper's chilling out here in the barnyard, Mr. Hay Bale Haul and Warrior. Okay, so my exhaust manifold below all of this is just raw still. I've never had them off Casper. Come to think of it, I've never had the engine opened up on this thing, and it's been through hell and back. So, turbine housing. Turbine housing on this was high temp coated with it's like paint. And as you can see, it has held up pretty decent for the abuse that I've put the truck through. The downpipe adapter also has been coated, and it's also holding it pretty well. The downpipe down below, if you can see down there, you can see the header wrap on it. Well, that header wrap works great because, as we know, 6.5s have a tendency to like to have cooling issues, and they like to have problems with heat soaking the engine bay and everything else. So in the past, I've wrapped both exhaust manifolds on Casper. They're not done, as you can see. They're out in the open, and you can also see this nice shiny crossover pipe down here is also not wrapped. Why do I not have them wrapped on Casper, but I had them wrapped on Nightmare? Well, it's simple. As often as I use this truck for towing, being out in a hayfield, being a farm truck, I always tend to have the issue of things getting caught up, be it chaff, mud, dirt, and it ends up partially in the engine bay. Yes, I have all the guards to try to protect this thing in the world, but it doesn't always work. So that's kind of where this all comes from, is header wrap is a great idea. It reduces heat soak. I've seen some pretty good results from it in the past. I've seen noticeably more controlled EGTs. I've noticed more controlled underhood engine temps. The hood is physically cooler when you go to open it after making a sled pull run or even towing. So there are benefits to it, but the downfall is it holds moisture. I live in the wonderful state of Michigan, and the weather changes its mind every 5 minutes without warning here. So we go from anything from snow to rain to sleet to hail to tornadoes in one day in the spring, and that causes a lot of issues for this. So the idea is to try the hot jet coating and see what we think, especially with the fact that this truck is going sled pulling at the end of the month. Here's the header wrap. As you can see, it's just a glass weave, and you wrap it on tight and hold it on with the band clamps. That's how the downpipe is here at Casper, and it does help. It does work. Keeps things cooler. Actually, I've noticed that my starters live a whole lot longer when I have a wrapped downpipe in them. So the biggest thing is corrosion factor and holding moisture, holding oil, holding debris. Nightmare had problems when I would sled pull it. One of the valve covers sprung a leak. It soaked the turbo side manifold full of oil onto the header wrap, and it decided that it was going to attempt to have a thermal event. So from then on out, I had to yank the valve cover off, reseal it, and put it back together. So that's a big part of why Casper does not have that particular, fashion statement of header wrap on the manifolds. So we're going to try the crossover pipe. We're just going to get it coated, put it back on. We'll see how it does corrosion resistant wise. We'll see how it does with temperature wise. We're going to see how it does when I take this thing out in the field, when I go sled pulling. see how it does with debris sticking to it, caking to it, and we'll just see what happens. So for now, I'm going to leave the new unwrapped crossover on this because I really don't want to ruin yet another one. And I really don't want to deal with having to fight my way through the wet mess that could be header wrap when I go to take it off this truck. There are ways you can help keep header wrap dry. You can spray it with things and sealants, whatever. It's kind of like waterproofing your boots, but it doesn't stop oil soak. So hopefully this is a good introduction tutorial for you guys. The header wrap is a good idea on downpipes and things that are going to be mostly protected by the chassis. And you can also get turbo blankets. I no longer have a blanket on Casper because the S300, I haven't purchased one yet. So if you want, you can try this. But I'm going to give this coating a try. We're going to see how it works, and we'll see how Casper responds. So I hope everybody is having a pretty good week, and we'll catch you on the flip side.